All right. Hi, Cecilia. I'm
Hi.
Emily.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. How about you?
Good, thank you.
Good. Just I want to tell you a little about me before we get started here on your diagnostic assessment. I'm a grad student at St. Mary's University, and this is being video recorded right now. I'm under supervision of my professor, Kair Desai. But the only people that will be looking at this video besides me would be my professor, Kair, and other graduate students, possibly. But afterwards, after the class is over, it'll be destroyed and no one will see it. It'll just
Yeah.
be, yep.
Okay, that's fine.
And my only other thing I wanted to tell you is that I'm a mandated reporter. So everything you say is between us, as long as you don't say anything that sounds like you're at significant risk of harming yourself or harming other people.
Mhm.
Okay?
Okay.
All right. Do you have any questions for me before we get started?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Um, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and why you're here today?
Yeah, so I have a long history of anxiety slash maybe other things, but the only one that's like really clear to me is anxiety. And I started this new job about 6 months ago. And that combined with several other things, I've just really noticed some like kind of severe physical anxiety symptoms. And it's gotten to the point where I just really need to tackle it. Um, yeah. So this is my first step.
Okay. Well, good for you. This is a really positive first step.
Thank you.
Yeah. Um, can you tell me a little bit about your relationship with your family? Who's in your family?
Sure. Yeah. So um, I live here in Minnesota in the Twin Cities. My parents and sister live down in Texas. Um, she has two kids down there and they all live together. My parents are kind of childcare for her and support her while she's getting through her residency. Um, so they come back and visit and stay with me quite often, so every couple months or so. And then I have two brothers here, and they both have families and kids. So
Okay.
we're kind of relatively spread out, but we're all still close. We grew up really close and stay in contact with each other. Different stages of life. Like I said, they all have families.
Hmm.
I don't have family.
Yeah,
They are my family.
I was gonna say, well, you have them, but you haven't
Yeah.
made your own family necessarily yet.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, yeah, but they're close. Brothers are close by. So.
Gotcha. All right. So some are far away, some are close, but you're all still relatively close in contact and see each
Mm-hmm.
other. Okay. Can you tell me about your relationship with each parent?
Oh, yeah. So, um, my parents are both really religious. My whole family's like really religious. That's kind of like one of the big sources of anxiety.
Hmm.
The source of anxiety, and then it caused a rift in my family, which is another source of anxiety, and has kind of just been like a really huge topic in my upbringing and kind of like formative time in adolescence and young adulthood as well. So all that to say, you asked about my parents. They're both very religious. Um, I'd say my dad's more of a fanatic than my mom, but we've always just kind of had a very difficult relationship, just like a lot of like black and white thinking. Just didn't really know how to like talk to kids or like handle kids' emotions or just like developmental stages, I think. So we never got off on the right foot, and I've just always kind of around different views. Like I said, him having very strong opinions. And he struggles with everybody else in the family too, I would say. So it's just been kind of a difficult relationship with him all my life. And then my mom's kind of the matriarch of the family. So she's always like, yeah, run the show, done all the planning, done all the handling of the money, everything. She's just very much the matriarch, and everybody goes to her for what they need. Um, and we're close. I'd say we're close. We have a good, healthy adult relationship,
Good.
even if we don't see eye to eye on everything.
Mm-hmm. But better, you would say, than your relationship with your dad?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. All right. Can you tell me about your family relationships in high school through now?
Sure. Yeah. So I guess us four kids are really close. My mom had all four of us within 5.5 years.
Wow.
So we really did go through kind of all the same developmental stages together and grew up together. Um, yeah, in high school, we all drove in the car to school together. Always kind of relied on the family unit for a lot of things before we did it friends.
Mm-hmm.
We also lived in the suburbs and went to a private school in the city. So a lot of my friends were a lot more wealthy than we were. Like we went there based on our like religious views, where a lot of people went to private school because they had a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And B, they were kind of in a different area, like they were either in the city or like further out in the suburbs. So I kind of relied on the family unit.
For like socialization.
Yeah, through high school. And then college, I moved away. Like I kind of worked really hard to kind of distance myself from, or kind of differentiate myself from my family of origin and all the kind of views that I was brought up with, and really like broadened my scope. By that I say I made a lot of mistakes. Or I don't know, got in some trouble. Ended up back in St. Paul with my family, and then moved down to North Carolina for 6 years, 7 years.
Wow.
And I never had like huge falling out with my family, but we just obviously we didn't remain as close. They started their families, I wasn't there. Just like a lot of milestones for me passed, for them passed, and I kind of relied more on like a friend group basis for like my community and media connections. So yeah, I would say, and then I moved back here 2 years ago, and since then have just like been able to reconnect as adults and have just like very much adult relationships with each other.
Wow. So that move back from North Carolina was recent.
Yeah, it was about 2 years ago.
And what precipitated that?
I had gone out there to finish up school, and I said if I don't have any strings attached by the time I'm done with school, I'll move back because Dad's getting older and has had some health issues. And then when I graduated school, I started dating my partner, and we were together for 5 years. And when that ended, it was just a good time to move back home.
Okay. So a couple of factors played into your decision to make the move back. And I just wanted to say, if you see me writing some notes down, I'm just taking a few notes about what we talked about your family so far.
Okay.
And I'll
No worries.
continue to do it throughout. Okay, so we're going to switch gears a little bit. Are you satisfied with your job right now?
Like I said, I think I like my job. I think it's very high stress, and I don't think that I'm really used to that.
What is your job?
So I work in a psych ward at the hospital.
Wow.
We're handling a lot of like acute patients on a daily basis, and yeah, it's stressful.
I can imagine. How long have you worked there?
About 6 months now.
Okay. So right at that 6 month mark.
Mhm.
Awesome. Um, what population are you working with in the psych ward?
It's older adults, but we also deal with like mental health crises on other units. So
Okay.
we'll go to other units when like a crisis is happening. So we'll see anywhere between like 7 years old to, there's 80-year-olds in my
Wow.
unit, but I would say mostly adolescent and adult.
Okay. Wow. Um, so we're gonna go back now to talking about growing up.
Okay.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up here in Minnesota,
Oh yeah, you said that.
in the suburbs. Yeah.
And um, can you tell me about your friends growing up?
Um, yeah. I mean, I've always kind of had a smaller friend group. I don't know. I being that I went through private school, everybody knew everybody, and it was smaller, and everybody was friends. So I've always had friends and like been like participated in activities and got along. But um, yeah, I never really felt like I had like a strong identity, I guess,
Okay.
amongst all the or like autonomy, just because it was so small and so directed by my parents, and yeah, wasn't really allowed to. I didn't have a lot of like freedom or independence, or they didn't like believe in, um, you know, they're very religious parents, like sheltered curfew type of things.
Uh,
So I had friends and I had fun, and I think I got along with people generally. I was a little bit shy.
okay.
Shy. I think some of that might have been just like quiet or anxiety, even
Yeah,
back
like
then.
yeah.
That, yeah, or social anxiety. Like, yeah, I never liked being the center of attention, or I never
Hmm.
liked, I never was the loudest voice in the room or anything like that.
Okay. So more of a, would you say more of an introvert?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Gotcha. Um, so who are then the important people in your life today?
Um, Mostly my friends. Like I said, like I've just formed this really great friend group. I think a lot of them are in North Carolina, where I lived for
Hmm.
7 years. That was kind of the time in my life where I really found an identity and found a community. So I still have that. There's like 4 or 5 girls there or abroad. They've kind of spread out now from North Carolina. But yeah, I rely on them. I probably talk to them, one of them at least once a week, and we stay in contact. But also, like you said, my family, my sister is a year and a half younger. Um, we had a falling out a number of years ago, and since her divorce from her husband, we've been like a lot more back to what we used to be.
Hmm.
As sisters, we grew up super, super close, like shared the same room all the way through growing up. So,
Really?
mhm. Yeah, so that was a huge like milestone, I guess, in my life when me and my sister didn't talk for a few years.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
yeah, um, yeah. As far as important people, I do have a boyfriend. We haven't been seeing each other very long, but I do feel like it's like, um, yeah, a really healthy relationship and something that's really important to me. I see
Nice.
now and going forward. So yeah,
And what's your boyfriend's name?
his name's Drew.
Okay.
Hmm.
And that sister you were talking about, would you mind telling me her name too?
Oh, her name's Emma.
Emma. Okay.
Yeah, she's the one down in Texas, my only sister.
Okay. The one with kids who's in medical school
Yes, that's right.
or residency.
Residency. Yeah.
Okay. That's even harder, I've heard.
Yeah, she's an ER doctor. She's like made for it. Like she's like meant
Oh.
to be a kick-ass woman. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, I definitely like look up to her in a way that I would look up to a big sister. She's so great.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about your symptoms. So today, are you feeling any symptoms of maybe anxiety, depression,
Yeah,
stress?
I don't really I don't really know. I probably have history of depression. Like I've had like moderate bouts of depression.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of seasonal. I
Mm-hmm.
definitely feel my body kind of like ramping down in the winter,
Mm-hmm.
and then it kind of like ramps back up in the spring when everything's
Mm-hmm.
going again. And since then, since when I've kind of felt like my natural nervous system coming back online, it's just, I don't know, it's just like thrown off my whole hormones or whatever's going on because I've been having this like really severe like physical anxiety.
Mm.
Um, yeah, like every day between like noon and 3 p.m., like I'll just like feel just like this like tenseness and this like weight in my body.
Wow.
And that'll last like all day. I'll just like have it, I'll just like notice it present at all times. And tried like a lot of different kind of like self tools to cope with it, but nothing's really worked. It kind of happens where like in the evenings, like my body will be so tired that I'll just kind of crash. Like I'll
Mm-hmm.
just like feel like extremely tired around like 8 o'clock, 7, 8 o'clock, depending when that happens. So
Because you were so physically anxious before in the
that's what
day.
I think it is. I don't know. Maybe a therapist could kind of crack more into it, but that's kind of my impression of it. And it kind of does go along. I've been noticing like some like mental reeling.
Mm.
I don't feel like emotionally stressed. I don't feel like, kind of bent out of shape of anything. It's more just like my brain gets really fast and it goes along with like my body feeling like really like heightened and stressed.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel any other symptoms besides those, like the tight chest and your body feeling tight and then tired later?
Not now, but I've kind of noticed in the past, like during the winter or during other bouts of severe stress, I'll get eczema in like different parts of my body. Like I'll break out in rashes. Like have a history of asthma and eczema, but
Oh,
it kind of follows my like whatever anxiety cycles too.
that's interesting.
Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not, but that's just one thing that I've noticed. Um, and then yeah, other symptoms, like I just noticed myself like getting really irritable, like shorter with people.
Yeah.
And that kind of drives me away from wanting to like interact with some people or just like, I don't know. I just feel like I could be a little bit more like patient. And I think that is me. Like I consider myself a very patient person, but just like when I'm not doing well, like I said, in this state, like I feel like it's tougher for me.
Got it. So you're like not yourself.
Yeah, I can just tell like I'm not really myself.
Okay. And thanks for telling me about that.
Yeah.
It sounds like a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
Um, so you kind of already answered my next question, but then I was going to ask, did your family ever notice your symptoms, like growing up or in your adulthood? Have you been forthcoming with them about it?
That's kind of part of the religious thing too. Like they don't really
Oh,
believe in mental illness or give any like credence to mental illness because it's always just like in either like it's also a Midwestern thing, like it's a personal problem, or if you aren't right with God, it's kind of the output. That's like an output of you not being like holy enough or good enough or something. I don't know, but all to say, like I don't think they would say it's like, oh, you have anxiety.
Wow.
If I did have it during childhood, they'd kind of just, they would have rolled their eyes at it or kind of chalked it up to as like, oh, it's just a phase or for being a kid or whatever. But
So
yeah.
dismissal, but also naming it something that's so intense and, shame-based.
Yeah. Like I said, I feel like a lot of it comes from some sort of religious trauma, whether it's like the shame or the fear, it's all kind of just wrapped up in, I don't know, my upbringing. I will say too, as far as like depression, I feel like I had a lot of depression in college. Like in college, I was like drinking a lot, and just like not doing well in school. Just I don't know. I don't really remember honestly forthcoming, but I feel like it's so far away. I just remember it as kind of just like a really like dark period of my life, like 18 to 23, 24. I just remember being like really unhappy. Probably like the biggest bout of depression that I've had.
That's good to know. And you said it went along with substance use too.
Yeah. Yeah. Just alcohol, a little bit of marijuana, but I haven't done that in years really.
Okay. So you talked about your family's reaction. What about a therapist's reaction to your mental health symptoms? Have you ever seen a therapist before?
I have. I know I've been diagnosed with GAD. Is
Okay.
there thing that they were diagnosis that they write down? Yeah, I saw a therapist about a year ago and did really good work with her. Really liked her, but she had to quit the industry kind of unexpectedly.
Oh.
So we kind of just like, I just kind of fell off of it. I've seen several other therapists previously, but no one like long term that I felt like I did really good work with, I would say.
Okay. Except this most recent therapist.
Right. And what we focused on, I think, is like GAD.
Okay.
Maybe some depression.
Okay.
Because it was during the winter, I think.
All right. And yeah, and you said seasonal.
Yeah.
That gets you for sure. Okay. So your symptoms right now, what would you say today are your main symptoms?
Like I said, there's like the physical anxiety, and I've also been having kind of like anxiety attacks at work.
Oh.
Like it just kind of feels like, yeah, my body just gets like over. How do I describe this? Like it's like I can't control it, but like I can like feel it coming on. Like, have you ever fainted?
Yeah.
Like you feel like you're about to faint.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of some like dissociative symptoms too. Like I feel like my mind is like there and operating, but my body is just kind of floating. It's really weird, and it's accompanied by like, it's not just like straight up dissociation. It's just like accompanied by like elevated heart rate and kind of like sweating, like sensitivity to light.
Wow.
Yeah. I feel like there's something else. I don't know, but the last one I had lasted for like 3 or 4 hours while I was at work.
Wow.
And it was really uncomfortable. And yeah, it's kind of the main reason I decided to come to therapy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, this is distress that they talk about. If it's causing you distress,
Yeah.
mental illness, it's like, okay.
Good for you for recognizing that. I would definitely say that sounds distressing.
After months and months.
Yeah. Oy, that's really hard. I'm sorry. Well, you are I want to reiterate that it was such a great step for you to come in, and you're in the right place.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. So then how many days a week would you say the anxiety is bothering you?
Um, Kind of like just the physical feeling every single day,
Okay.
anxiety attacks. I've only had a few, but they're more and more frequently. I wouldn't say like once a week, but once in a while, more and more frequently.
Okay. So pretty significant.
Yeah.
Um, and so it bothers you all of those days, I guess. Um, are you ever able to control it?
I've tried a lot of different things. I think it's kind of connected to my sleep schedule too. Like I work
Okay.
nights, I stay up late, and I'm kind of cagey in the morning, so I'm not getting great sleep, I feel.
Mm,
And that's a new thing for me since I've started this job is I've always kind of liked working nights, but never like consistently like this.
hmm
Um, so I think that's tied into it. Um, what was the question?
Oh, I was just asking if you're ever able to control it.
Oh, yeah. Um, yeah, I've tried like limiting coffee, like cutting out caffeine
Okay.
recently. Um, I tried like breathing techniques, meditation, exercise, started running again to kind of have an outlet. Um, yeah, that's all I can think of right now.
Sounds like you've done a lot of things to try to manage it.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, well, that shows me that you're open to trying new things,
hmm
that you're not gonna give up until we get you feeling better.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, have you noticed specific triggers? Like you said, they happen at work sometimes.
Yeah, I think like the physical anxiety it just comes out of nowhere. Like there's nothing like every day that really triggers it. I think it's more just like a buildup of stress over time. It's kind of like the output. And my hunch is again like I think the stress is just work, like this new job.
Mm-hmm.
Don't really there's just like a lot of intense experiences which I'm not intimidated by, and I feel like I handle really well in the moment, actually. Like, I feel like I deal with the patients even in acute situations. Like, but I just feel like I don't really process it. Like, it's hard to, you can't, call your friends up afterwards, or it's not like, it
Yeah.
doesn't feel, unless you were there, you can't really like confer the type of moment and feeling. So
Mm-hmm.
it's something that I think is just burning me out a bit.
Yeah, because it's sticking with you day in and day out too.
Yeah, and when it's not like acute patients, it's like just can be kind of a negative environment.
Huh.
Depending on who's there, sometimes the team is really great, and sometimes it's just really, really difficult people to work with as well, and you don't feel supported, and it's just yeah, I feel like some weight on my shoulders that I don't necessarily want or need or I'm not familiar with, so I don't really know what to do with it or how to
Mm.
handle it, say.
Okay. So the environment can be negative depending on who's working.
Mhm.
And then the patients, depending on behaviors, there can be some really intense situations going on.
Right, yeah.
Okay, got it. So would you say work is kind of like so-so, or do you love it, or?
Yeah, I like my job. I'm also in school. I'm in grad school.
Mm-hmm.
So I have that for another 2 semesters. So there's kind of an end in sight for all of it. I
Yeah,
don't plan on working there at least as regularly after that. But yeah, it's nice to have a balance between work and school,
yeah,
just to have both things on the plate. But again, being that busy is probably adding to the stress as well.
yeah. I would say grad school and work. Do you work full time?
Yeah.
Wow. That is a lot.
Yeah.
Um, do you get nervous or anxious in social situations?
Mm, I used to, honestly, like I said, I was a shy kid, and that's just
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the whole history of remembered, like just being really awkward in groups or really like not knowing what to do. Yeah, I guess I was kind of like socially awkward.
Okay.
And I think part of that's from like my sheltered upbringing too. Like I
Yeah.
didn't really know how to relate to other people that were different than me. But I think after kind of trying a lot of different things and coming out of my shell, I don't feel it so much anymore. Yeah.
Okay. So you think it's tied a lot to your religious upbringing?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would make sense why you don't really feel it now as an adult, so
Yeah.
it's much more removed from that environment.
Yeah. And I kind of have worked on that in the past with other therapists processing some of their religious trauma, as I would call it.
Okay. Um, so you described the stress um, in your chest. You described your body feeling really tired later. Are there any other physical symptoms?
Um, Not really. That's you said the tired factor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just feeling tired.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Okay. Has it ever stopped you from doing things you would normally do?
I think the crashing in the evenings is definitely like annoying, I guess.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm a little bit more cautious with making plans not to overload myself. So I might, miss out on making a friend coffee date or something like that. So relatively minor, but still just like enough for me where I'm like, I don't like this.
Yeah. Okay. Um, so you mentioned you have a boyfriend.
Huh?
How long have you been in a relationship with him?
It's only been a couple months.
Okay.
Yeah.
And does your anxiety ever affect your relationship with him?
Um, well, not exactly. I've just like made a really hard line that we like don't stay over at each other's houses because I just need to know that I can get to sleep at night. And
Mm-hmm.
like, I think I would have a lot of anxiety if I tried to do that somewhere else or if there's somebody in my space. So
Okay.
that's
So
something I can really think of though.
no sleepovers.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And would you describe your relationship as good, supportive?
Mhm. Yeah.
Good. Do you have any issues there that you want to bring up together?
Mm, no, I think that's something that I is definitely a positive in my life.
Good. Okay. Um, and then switching away from the relationship back to just anxiety in general, do you take any anxiety medication?
I take hydroxyzine to help me sleep, and then I take Buspirone every just once in a while. But
Okay. PRN, I think.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. And you said the hydroxyzine is to sleep.
yeah.
Okay. Um, and how much caffeine are you drinking?
I usually just have 1 cup in the morning,
Okay.
and then if I'm feeling really tired, like at work or something, and I know I can't take a nap, I'll have one in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm. So 1 to 2 a day.
Yeah.
All right. um, have you been diagnosed with any physical illnesses?
I mentioned the asthma and eczema.
Oh
That's
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Asthma and eczema, and those were since childhood?
Yes. Since
Okay,
I was 2.
I'll mark that. Okay. Um, Back to talking about things like caffeine. Do you use any other substances? Like, do you drink?
I drink alcohol.
Okay.
Just I like beer. I'll have a beer when I go out, or kind of just like if I have a night off, just like winding down.
Hmm. And how many beers would you say you'd have when you go out or when you're out?
Um, I'd say like 2 to 3 on average if going out with friends, or like we're going out to dinner and then going somewhere afterward. That's kind of typical.
Hmm.
Going
Okay.
out with friends or with my boyfriend, yeah.
And besides beer, any hard alcohol going on?
Mm, no, I haven't
Okay.
dare I test it? No.
um, do you use tobacco?
No, I don't use tobacco.
And then marijuana. You said that you used to use that.
No, when I was trying to be cool in college, but it never stuck.
Okay. Have you ever struggled with any substances before?
No,
Okay.
there is a history of um, alcoholism in my family on
Okay.
my dad's side.
Okay. Um, what about growing up? Did you meet all your developmental milestones that you know of?
Yeah, I did have a lisp. Like I was treated
Huh?
by a speech therapist when I was in like 4th grade.
Do you feel like the lisp at all contributed to your anxiety?
Probably, I was so young at the time. I didn't really realize that it was so different, but I probably did. It's kind of just a whole part of my character, just being a
Yeah.
shy girl with a lisp. I don't know.
Um, any significant injuries growing up?
um, no, nothing big.
Okay. And how did you feel about school growing up?
Um, Good. I did good in all my classes, all the way through high school. I was honors classes, honor roll, everything like that until I got to college and kind of failed out of college after my first 2 years.
Hmm.
Eventually went back and moved and finished my degree. So it's a rocky experience, but I always liked school. I've always been good at school.
And you said you were dealing with depression then during college too, right?
Yeah.
And drinking more, so.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm sure it was rocky. Um, that's good that you were able to leave, but then come back, when you were ready.
Yeah.
Um, so you mentioned that life event. Um, were there any other major life events growing up? Oh, and not talking to your sister.
Yeah.
Any other major life events growing up or in your adolescence, adulthood?
Mm, None that stand out. I think it was just like the big transitional moves. Like as a young adult, I did those by myself. I think those were um, really informed the person that I was today. So I moved away to Iowa, and then I
Hmm.
came back to St. Paul and moved to North Carolina. So those
And you
are
did
kind
that by yourself?
yeah, those are kind of the major life events.
Okay. Um, Um, have you experienced any what you would call traumatic events growing up, or would you say the trauma is mostly like the religious upbringing itself?
Yeah, I'd say I definitely have some religious trauma. Um, I was in a pretty bad relationship in early college as well, so that
Okay.
might kind of play into some of my past or maybe current symptoms. Maybe we could dive into eventually in therapy.
Okay.
Um, yeah, that's the big religion's kind of the big one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it seems like it. Okay. Um, Now I'm going to ask you some questions that might, you said you've been in therapy before, so they might not seem too weird for you, but they are a little more just um, out of step with what we've been talking about so far.
mhm.
Um, so have you ever experienced seeing things that weren't there or heard things that weren't there?
No.
Okay. And you talked about depression. You have experienced that on and off. But have you felt ever like really high and full of energy, like standing on top of a mountain?
Um, Maybe a little bit. I do always tell people that I've kind of experienced mania, but it's kind of related to like how my anxiety's been showing up lately, kind of those anxiety attacks
Mm-hmm.
that have happened in a lower form before throughout my life, it feels like.
So
Just
you,
like a really like activated nervous system.
uh-huh.
So I don't know if you'd call that like mania.
But that same activated nervous system feeling of like
Yeah, it's
pumped
really like
up.
yeah,
Okay. Like would you say like your adrenaline is flowing?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. My adrenaline like kicks in.
Okay. Um, and you said that you've had anxiety and you've had panic attacks. When did panic attacks start for you? How old were you?
Oh, it's really just been the last like couple years or so here,
Okay.
and like I said, more so within the last 6 months mostly.
Okay. Okay. Um, how's your appetite been?
Um, Good. I really have had like kind of a stable appetite. I don't really eat much in the morning. I'll have like one big meal in the middle of the day and kind of graze throughout the evening. It's just really been my MO all my life.
Okay. Are you physically active?
I just started running again. I feel like I always have like one activity that I'll do like maybe once or twice a week,
Oh,
but
okay.
nothing like crazy. Nothing. I've never been into like exercising. It's
But
usually an activity, whether it's
something physically active.
yeah.
Okay, a few times a week. Okay. And um, this isn't normal when people are dealing with depression, and I know that you've said that you've experienced that before. Have you ever had thoughts of suicide?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Have you ever wanted to harm yourself in the past?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Um, all right. And you talked about being a part of a religion growing up. Do you feel like you're a part of a religion now?
No, I have like a sense of spirituality, but no like organized religion.
Okay. Spiritual. Okay. And then we're almost done here, by the way. um, in terms of our time together, if you continue to want to work together, what are some of your goals in therapy?
yeah, just get the anxiety under control. Um, just build in some more, like, I wanted to say bumper cars, but that's kind of the opposite. They call like fenders, like buoys on
Yeah.
the edge of my boat to kind of keep me from um, crashing. Um, yeah, that'd be the primary thing.
Okay. Anxiety, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that about sums up our time together. It was really nice getting to know more about you, Cecilia.
Yeah.
And do you want to make a follow-up appointment?
Yeah, we can make
Okay.
a follow-up appointment.
Do you want to just do it on over email? I can just email you.
Yeah, I'll take a look at my calendar and we'll find a good time to go over everything.
Okay. Um, well, between now and the next time we see each other, I wish you the best, and I hope your anxiety doesn't give you too much trouble, and that you're able to use whatever coping mechanisms you currently have to be like those buoys you were saying.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Emily.
Yeah, you're welcome. Bye.
See you next time. Bye.